Hello and welcome to the Rugby Paper Roundup. I'm delighted to be joined today by Rich, the Rugby Analyst. Rich, what an autumn of rugby we enjoyed. England made it 11 wins in a row, while South Africa look even more unstoppable than they did before. Question marks have been raised over New Zealand and Ireland. Are they on the decline? And let's be honest, the less said about Wales, the better, and for Australia for that matter. That was a dismal autumn for the Wallabies. Rich, what did you make of the final ever Autumn Nations series before the Nations Championship kicks in next year?
Yeah, it's an exciting one to finish on. Super busy for me as a YouTuber making stacks of videos. So nice to just chill out a little bit at the moment. But there were some great games in there, weren't they? The Southern Hemisphere sides coming and Japan, which we kind of count as Southern Hemisphere. Lots of great results. I mean, are there any particular you want to talk about quickly?
Oof. I mean, I think England's win over New Zealand was arguably the most impressive. Um, I mean, or you could talk about South Africa absolutely annihilating Ireland's scrum, but they thought the Springboks, with all the extra men they had on the field, they probably should have scored more points than they did. So if I'd give the performance of the series, I think England's win over the All Blacks, I think was the most impressive. In the end, they won really comfortably. That was a hell of a scout for Steve Borthwick's side, and yeah, look a serious force going into next year. But like I said, South Africa, they're head and shoulders above the rest right now.
Absolutely. I'm always happy to talk about England. I mean, to not cruise past New Zealand, but to have a 33-19 win against New Zealand on the board with a really tidy performance is a real measure of where they've come to. But now we have the acid test, of course, coming up of the Six Nations. Can they recreate that sort of form? Can they, rise to the top? It's going to be really good because Ireland, yes, they didn't have the greatest November, but it's most of the same players. They get Big Joe McCarthy back as well. They could be underestimated coming into the Six Nations. And France, I mean, they had a good win over. Would they have Australia? Who else did they beat? They beat Fiji.
Fiji as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and they had, they were in the fight with South Africa. So they got Dupont's back, isn't he? Dupont's back now. So in the Six Nations, they could certainly, be right in there as well. So England, brilliant November, but obviously they're going to want to back it up, aren't they?
Oh, I'm so excited for the Six Nations to come. I mean, like you said, Dupont is back. He made his return for Toulouse last weekend, last Saturday night, and he looked amazing. Looked like he hadn't missed a beat. So, like you said, France will be a force. Should be France and England will be the favourites, but yeah, don't count out Ireland. They've got some very very good rugby players. Yes, they're aging. Maybe there's not bringing them. Andy Farrell's not bringing the talent through that maybe he should, or some think he should, in terms of their young talent coming through. But yeah, still a quality team. Going to be very interesting to see how the Six Nations goes. But I mean, yeah, we can talk about England as much as we'd like this autumn, but it's about time this team won something. They haven't won anything yet. Need to go into the Six Nations. And I spoke to Kyron Bracken last week for his column in last week's Rugby Paper, and he says it's Grand Slam or nothing. Go for the Grand Slam. That they should expect to win the Grand Slam. He was saying we should treat it like a World Cup, and when they go to France in that final game, treat it as a World Cup final. And just build from there, because 2 years out, this is where you want to be peaking, isn't it, Rich?
Yeah, I mean I did a video on the Six Nations, the fixture list. It works well for England. They start off at home to Wales, which at the moment is a good start. If they don't win that, they shouldn't win the Six Nations, and then they save one of the. I think they've got Ireland at home as well. I think, is that right? Yeah, Ireland at home, and then they finish with one of the big ones, France. It's away, but no, if they're 4 wins from 4 potentially going into that final round, that's where you want to be. So I think Grand Slam, yeah, that would be great. But going into that last round, you know, in the hunt, I think is the key. Winning the thing is the key. Grand Slams are really hard to come by, even when you're a great team. So I probably wouldn't get too carried away with that, but certainly, being in with a chance of winning it in the final round is the minimum, I would say.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they are very hard to come by. I mean, Ireland have proven that. They won the Grand Slam in 2023, I believe, and then they 24 they just couldn't quite. They lost to England at Twickenham, didn't they, with that last minute Marcus Smith drop goal, and they were the best side in the competition by a long way, but still just couldn't quite get the Grand Slam. So yeah, Karen Bracken's putting the pressure on England.
Yeah, yeah. I tell you what, whilst you're talking about Ireland maybe aging and South Africa being impressive, I think one of the kind of distinguishing factors between the two, why South Africa are so far ahead at the moment is, I mean, they're coming off the back of an aging squad, if you like, and the questions were coming into this year: is it the end of a golden era? That, you know, is that why
Yeah,
they did the back to back? But we're seeing the answer is no. They've got new guys coming through, obviously. Sasha Feinberg and Magomazulu, Damian Willemser, Moody, those guys, but also they just have the production line where, because they're so deep, players can wait. They can be made to wait. Players like Andre Esterhazen has got some caps, but he would have been starting every match he's available for any other nation, and he's had to wait to break in. Even Malcolm Marks has had to wait to become a starter. And all these props, the props coming in,
Jesse
the front
Creel
row
as
guys
well.
coming in, they're mid to late 20s. They're not, they don't have to start again. Whereas Ireland, maybe they're at a stage where, you know, when your Henshaws go, your Ackies go, you know, some of these players start, you know, moving on. Van der Fleer's getting on a bit. Then maybe they do have to start again and they kind of drop down before they build back up. But South Africa can just keep popping these guys in and don't miss a beat.
Yeah, I've said it before. It's just like a conveyor belt of talent that South Africa's seen that they just, yep, next one off the shelf, like the old All Blacks team. But the Premiership, or should I say the Prem,
The
came
Prem.
back last weekend
Do you like
for
that?
one
The
for
Prem?
one. Do I like the name?
Do you like the name?
No, to be honest with you, not at all. I think it just sounds pretty. I don't know what the word is really. Just doesn't really sound like professional enough. I mean, what was wrong with the
Yeah,
Premiership? I don't really see that just because they've shortened the name, suddenly they're going to now like engage a younger audience, and now
that's it. They're
rugby's going to
trying hard.
explode with
Yeah,
teenagers. Like, really?
trying to make it short, snappy, distinguishable. So it's a marketing exercise, isn't it? But we'll get over it, I'm sure. But it's an interesting call.
Yeah, exactly. But you just came back for 1 week only before the European competitions kick in. So Bath on top once more. I mean, I was at that game at the Stonex on
Oh
Sunday,
yeah,
just as a punter actually, just down the road from me in Colchester, and absolutely loved it. I mean, that was an incredible game of rugby,
can I ask what
36
were
to
the Saris
29.
fans like? Because they must have been sick to lose that one.
To be fair, the people around us were mainly Bath fans, so
Oh, okay.
they were jumping for joy. I mean, they travelled in their numbers, especially
Hmm.
with it being a Sunday as well, Sunday afternoon. No, they weren't frightened to travel across the country. But yeah, Saracens were obviously gutted. But I just thought it was a great advert for the league, and for people just watching rugby. Say that was their first rugby game they've ever been to, and there were a few people that I heard that it was just through them speaking on the tannoy and things like that. Um, I think it was just an amazing game and a great occasion. Great to see the Stone X full as well. But Bath, it seemed like Saracens were going to pull away in the first half. Bath got that Arundel interception, and then their own kind of bomb squad came off the bench
Yeah.
and just tore havoc. I mean, when you can
Yeah.
bring guys on like Max Ujomo, it's so impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, and they didn't even have to play, or they rested the two supposedly best flankers in England at the moment, Pepper and Underhill.
Yeah.
Didn't even have to have Barbary in the squad. I don't know on their fitness and everything. So they weren't fully stacked. I mean, Saracens were pretty close. They had a couple missing as well, but these are the two best sides in the Prem, as in depth-wise, quality of talent, and the game, like you say, was an advert because you saw a bit of everything, and that's what I like. You saw some high ball, but you saw a lot of running rugby as well, and lots of physical rugby. I love it when you get that mix. It really is a heady, exciting mix, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Arthur Green got man of the match in the end, and he was outstanding. He's probably someone that goes under the radar a little bit at Bath, considering their embarrassment of riches in the back row, but he was outstanding. So that kind of brings us on nicely, really. I mean, we think that Bath are the team to beat in the Prem. Return of the EPCR competitions, the Champions Cup and the Challenge Cup. Bath won the Challenge Cup last year. In the Champions Cup this year, do you think? we just mentioned there Bath's, unbelievable squad depth and how and the level they're performing without their big guns. Do you think it puts them in good stead to really compete this year in the Champions Cup and kind of fly the flag for English rugby like Northampton Saints have done so well the past 2 seasons?
Yeah, I mean, they were in the same, pretty much the same position last year with the same players, but they just completely screwed up that pool stage. It's,
Yeah.
what's it, 6 teams in the pool. You only have 4 matches, so you don't play the team from your own league, and you only need to be in the top 4 to qualify. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Ben. I think that's how it is. And they managed to finish fifth, um,
Mm,
and they completely screwed it up early on. They went on to win, obviously, the Challenge Cup, but they should get out of this pool. It's a pretty decent pool. Let me just bring it up here quickly. So they got Toulon, Munster, which that's the first game. That's probably the pick of
yeah.
the round, I'd say. And then Castres, Edinburgh, Gloucester. I think if they don't qualify from that pool, they've made a serious miscalculation, considering the depth of their squad. So I think because they knew they actually screwed up last time, they're going to go even bigger. And because they should be top 4 in the Prem, um, they're going to hopefully, well, I expect them to be clever and rotate players so their best team is fit for these Champions Cup games. Maybe that's what was going on a bit in the last round.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, now obviously 2 years ago, Bath got to the Prem final, just came up short against Northampton, and they were desperate to win the Prem because it's been too long since they've been, crowned, the best team in England. You're talking decades, but they finally got over the line there. They're now Prem champions. Surely, I'd like to know. I mean, obviously only Johan van Graan will be able to tell you. What's the priority? Do you think trying to go back to back Prem champions, or potentially just look at Europe and being crowned Europe's best rather than just England's best?
Well, I think priority short term is to get home semi final in, well, not sorry, home knockout game in their um, Champions Cup from their Champions Cup pool, and then have a look back at the Prem and then start calculating what they need, what points they need for a home semi final there, because that's pretty important. If it came down to it and it was a choice between home semi final or just top 4 in the Prem and success in the Champions Cup, I think they might sacrifice top 2 in the Prem and take top 4 just to make sure their best team is in the Champions Cup. So I think that's where the sacrifice may come. But if it came to they're dropping out of the top 4 of the Prem, I think the focus would go back to the Prem, if that makes any sense at all.
No, it certainly does. I mean, do you buy this whole talk that I've seen a lot written and a lot said on other podcasts that English clubs just can't compete in Europe because of the um, disparity in salary caps, with the money that France can throw at their squads, and Leinster as well with all their amazing stars they've got now from across the globe. But surely Northampton have proven the last 2 years that an English club can go far. And before then, obviously Harlequins had a nice European run as well. So do you think there is hope that this time around that English clubs can give it a good go and well, because Northampton weren't a million miles away last year, were they? I mean, they lost in the end to Bordeaux Begley, but I mean there was a red card and things, so it it just felt like they had a really good chance of winning it. So I don't really buy all this talk about people saying that English clubs haven't got a hope in hell.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Prem standings at the moment. The top 6 sides: so Saracens, Bristol, Leicester, Northampton, Exeter, maybe not so much Exeter, I don't know, and Bath. So those 5, let's say, if they had their best 23 out, 100%, they could win any match. I think they wouldn't be favourites for every match, but they could win. So I think that's all that really counts. Can they get their best 23 out when it matters in a knockout?
Yeah, exactly. And then I think it probably just, I mean, you think the last season, Northampton, obviously the reigning Prem champions, endured quite a dismal title defence in the end. And the only thing that kind of saved their season was that amazing Champions Cup run. So it might get to the point where, a team, I'm not sure who, but maybe. their Prem title chances have gone up in flames, and they're like, right, okay, let's pull all our resources towards that Champions Cup run, which obviously Phil Dowson's side did so well. And like I said, they were very very close to being crowned European champions. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
we,
kind
we'll,
of a
we'll
happy
see.
accident, wasn't it? I mean, they because
Yes, a
they
good
had
way to
no
describe it.
chance in the Prem, they could literally just not worry so much about the Prem and just go all in on the Champions Cup because they weren't fighting on two fronts.
Yes. Looking at the competition though, Rich, who do you think the favourites are? It's hard to look past your usual suspects. Toulouse now with Dupont back in the mix. Bordeaux, Begley, reigning champions, and then also Leinster as well. They'll obviously be desperate to get over the line after all those shortcomings. I mean, no one really gave Northampton a chance in Dublin last year in the semi-final, and for them to lose that was really, really kind of embarrassing, really, in some ways, by their standards and what they want to get to, and their kind of like golden generation of just the all Ireland squad. I mean, yes, they won the URC in the end, but we all know that Leinster's priority is the Champions Cup. They see that as the absolute pinnacle of the club game. So, I mean, yeah, who do you, outside England, do you think will be right up there in the mix?
It's really easy, isn't it? It's Toulouse and Bordeaux, and that's it really. They're the favourites, and then we'll see what the Stormers can do potentially if they can get all their Springboks on the pitch. That could be interesting. And Leinster, of course, if they have their best team and they play the way they can, super fast, quick phases. There, no, those four probably I'd put in there.
And what do you make of the South African clubs involved in these European competitions? It means a lot of travelling, but it hasn't really quite reignited the magic of the competition like maybe the organisers were hoping it would.
Yeah, hopefully this year it will. Like I said, the Stormers, if they can get all their boys on the pitch, get them fresh, whatever the travel is, then there's no reason why not. So let's go. Fingers crossed they make a big play this year.
And do you think, obviously, I'm sure you've watched the competition throughout your life. Where do you think the competition is in terms? Do you think it has really gone downhill, or do you think it's not quite as bad as people are making it out to be? That people only really start caring by the semi-finals and final, or do you think it's just a bit of nostalgia, really?
No, well, as in the quality of the games are amazing, but the format, yeah, I can't get excited at the moment. I can only be honest with my emotions. I'm
Yeah.
not excited at the moment until we get those big games. Because, like I said, four go through from the pool. Um, you know, 4 out of 6 isn't that much jeopardy, is it? Um, yeah, so I'm not excited yet, but I do like that first match. What is it? Bath Munster. That's the one. Really excited about that
Yeah.
one. So individual matches, yes. As a competition, not until the quarters, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, look at Bath Munster, but also another one, Anglo-Welsh derby. You got Scarlets against Bristol Bears. That's going to be a cracker. I mean, no love lost between those two sides, is there?
No, Scarlets have got a few guys back from injury, and then they've got their Welsh guys back. So yeah, they could be decent at home. Yeah, yeah, wanting to prove a point as well to you know to be one of the three sides that remain in Wales. That's another topic, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, the Welsh clubs are always get up for it when they play English sides. I mean, I think Cardiff have hosted Bath and Harlequins in recent years, and they've got bumper crowds for those.
Yeah,
Near sellouts. So they'll be firing for that, and the fans will love it. Saturday late kick off as well, so under the lights.
yeah, yeah. And in
That
the future, I think they've made no bones. Well, without saying explicitly, I'm pretty sure the WRU wants to join in some sort of Anglo Welsh league, an extended Prem, and get that sort of rivalry week in, week out, pack out the stadiums. I'm pretty sure that is the long term hope.
that is, yeah, that is the goal. It seems. I mean, whether it will come to fruition, who knows? Because they've been talking about this for so long now. And it's almost kind
They
of a
have,
question
but
of like, do the Welsh clubs want it, but do the English clubs really need the Welsh clubs?
yeah, it's almost not now or never, but it's in the next few years or never in a way because by default, England dropped down to 10 teams. They didn't want to be 10 teams, they wanted to be 12 or more. So they want more clubs. So it's almost like because they're tied, because the Welsh clubs are tied into the URC, it ties everyone's hands. So there's this big opportunity, and I wonder if it will slip by.
Yes, yeah, we will certainly have to see. Also on Sunday, you've got Toulouse against Sharks. That's basically like a France South Africa game, really. I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about obviously Dupont coming back, and South African fans that kind of refuse to admit that he's the greatest of all time, or the greatest player in at the minute. So that will be certainly one to keep your eye on Sunday as well.
Well, I think he's the best scrum half in the world, isn't he? That's a definite. Um, and Sharks travelling away from home. No Etzebeth, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, certainly one to keep an eye out. Obviously, we don't know it at the minute, but yeah, I doubt that he'll be involved. I mean, Rich, what was your take on
Oh
that
no, I shouldn't have brought it
incident?
up. I shouldn't
I
have.
mean, yeah,
Oh
I'm gonna
no,
I'm gonna
you
avoid
walked
this
into it.
because these last 2 weeks I've had some I've been peppered in the comments by the Safa fans. But I mean, I've actually seen some people online. I'm sure you have as well that are actually defending him and saying that he was provoked. And I also, I mean, I think, well, I said last week how much I admire Sia Khaleesi, and I thought he's an amazing talker and he is, great with the media. He's just perfect, but he's not perfect because I thought after the game he made the wrong choice there, saying that it had to be an accident and kind of just denied it as a possibility. Whereas I think that was not the right move. That's the first time I've seen him make a little mistake. I think. I mean, there's
It's
no
hard.
way.
It's an
There's no
impossible
way that.
position for him, wasn't it? He didn't know exactly what had happened. We still don't know. I deliberately didn't make a video on that one because there were lots of other interesting things to talk about, and other people were talking about it. So I'll let World Rugby deal with that one. Clearly, Etzebeth is going to get a ban. Did Man do something? I just don't know. So I'll let them deal with that one. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see Etzebeth against Toulouse.
No, no, I don't think we will either. So, Rich, that brings us on nicely into another topic which could rile up the South African
Okay.
contingent. A lot has been made. I mean, this Springboks team, and they proved it last Saturday, are incredible. I did kind of think going into that game, I thought maybe they might rotate or they might just take their foot off the gas, make a few changes, preserve their squads. No, that wasn't the case at all. They completely annihilated Wales in Cardiff. I mean, you can say what you want about this current Wales team, but that is an achievement to put that score on and a real statement as well. I was, yeah, so impressed, and they showed their unbelievable depth, which you've spoken about already. They are back-to-back world champions, and they are only getting better as well. They'll be favourites probably in 2 years' time as well to do the unprecedented three in a row. Therefore, a lot of people are saying they are the greatest rugby team of all time. It's a good debate, but it's one that, I mean, the obvious one that they're up against is the 2011 and 2015 back-to-back World Cup winners, obviously the All Blacks. I mean, Rich, if you had to choose between the two, which direction would you go? Or do you want me to go first?
Okay. I tell you what, I don't want to be sitting on the fence all the time. I did before the last World Cup, before the 2023 World Cup, I did a numerical analysis because we were getting this debate as in who was the most successful World Cup team of all time, and it was close, New Zealand or South Africa, and I did a points version, did a video where you get points for how far you go in each World Cup that's ever been, and the score, and it was just arbitrary. I didn't know how it was going to work out, and the scores came out level essentially. I think there was a point in it. So going into the last World Cup, it was even. Then South Africa won, so they de facto, they were the best World Cup side ever. And at the moment, that's pretty much how you measure greatness of sides. So I would say, by the way I measured that, South Africa, considering they've done it twice in a row, but then, the New Zealand one, of course, I'm looking at the team right now. Great players, Vitalik and Whitelock in the second row. The back row, Kano, McCaw, Reed hasn't been much better. Carter at 10, Marnonu, Conrad Smith, one of my favourite players of all time, Ben Smith. So, and then it depends which lineup of South Africa you're talking about, because there's some, Do you have Villy LaRue or do you have Damien Willemser? Which one what are you saying? So I'd say as a 15/23, as a 15 of the nailed on players, maybe New Zealand. As a slightly bigger squad of depth, I'd go South Africa. And that's genuine what I think, rather than
Yeah.
sitting on the fence.
No, that's fair enough. That's just good analysis. Personally, I don't think that they are there just yet. I think the All Blacks team beats them. I mean, I know obviously the game's played on grass, not played on paper, but if you did a combined 15 and you mentioned those names there, in my head I had five of the current Springboks making the team. Obviously, the remaining 10 will all be in New Zealand. The five were it was an all South African front row. Don't think New Zealand can argue with that. I had Oxen Che, Malcolm Marks, and then probably Thomas Du Toit, one of the best tight heads in the world right now. I had Eben Etzebeth in. The rest of the forward pack, I think you have to have one of Whitelock or Retallick. I'd probably go Whitelock, I think, but that's a bit of a toss of the coin. And then that New Zealand back row, which you just said, it doesn't get better than that. Kano, Reed, McCaw.
Yeah,
Halfbacks.
I think Peter Steph Du Toit would get in that one for me somewhere.
Over who?
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that one. Yeah, I'd say get in over Kano.
Really?
Yeah, that is. But what Peter Steph Du Toit can do, line out wise, out wide, offloading. Kano was an absolute beast, maybe slightly bigger beast. I don't know, but I think all round, I'd say yeah, Peter Steph.
You would have to say that Kano has done more in the club game, hasn't he, than Peter Steph Du Toit has. I mean,
Are
also
we
winning
going
the
to have the
champion.
club game? Are we? Okay. Okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
If that's okay,
Sure.
winning the Champions Cup with Toulouse, that for me just about pips it. But I mean, look, that's a tough call. I don't think you can argue though the other two.
Yeah.
And then I
And
don't
just
think.
looking, go on.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say you can't argue the halfbacks either. Aaron Smith and Dan Carter. I mean, come on. Centres, I don't think you can argue that either. Manonu, Conrad Smith, Ben Smith, like you mentioned at fullback. I had Cheslin Colby on one wing,
Yeah.
and then the other Julian Surveyor, the bus.
Yeah,
Like
I'd say 1 to 15. I think there might be a few more New Zealanders in there. But again, going back to my depth thing, I was just looking at the starting front row for New Zealand. Moody, Coles, Franks, amazing. But then South Africa, they lost Nche, Mal Herbert's not playing, and Benami's now a bit more of a squad player. But they're just rolling in front row after front row. Thomas Du Toit pops in after he's been waiting on the wings forever, and he's world class. Steenekamp's come in, Grobbelaar came into hooker and looked phenomenal. They could wheel out 3 or 4 front rows that could be the best in the world. It's so scary.
It certainly is. You'd have to just say that the New Zealand team are probably easier on the eye. If certainly that they played rugby from the gods, and there's always been that kind of saying that okay, yeah, but they wouldn't be allowed to play that style of rugby against this Springbok team, which would just beat them up. But I'm looking at that New Zealand pack, and I think they'd certainly hold their own. I think if you look at something like back row and the second row, they would certainly go toe to toe with the Springboks. It will obviously never happen, but what a game that would be. I mean, that's just two legendary Hall of Fame teams with two great coaches as well. It should be said. Yeah, it's a little bit worrying in terms of trying to engage a younger audience with rugby. I mean, I always kind of think like a high quality video game might help or something. Millions of people play FIFA and Football Manager, don't they? But just rugby just can't get a decent game.
I think they're playing quite a smart game. A lot of the club, you can see the clubs and the international social media teams now are really, this last year, they're really starting to chuck out the content, a lot more short form, the Henry Pollock effect, etc. All the bits of fun stuff like that. So I think they are definitely getting on it now. I mean, they've been doing the longer form YouTube stuff for a while, haven't they? In the what happens in camp, that's been going for a while, but they're really chucking out the short form stuff a lot heavier now, and all the clubs are doing it as well. Just saying, what a try this guy scored, or look at our player who's a beast. and sometimes the footage doesn't quite match up with what they're claiming, but it doesn't really matter. They're just, you know, spamming it out there, really. That's a big change this year.
Definitely. I mean, I think you mentioned like Henry Pollock is going to be huge for in terms of engaging a younger generation. I've seen like interviews of fans and things, and they love him because he's just such a personality, and that was also being kind of like discouraged in previous rugby generations up
Definitely.
until recently, really. So, but he's been encouraged to express himself and. You know, he's got an amazing personality, and he celebrates tries, and he's controversial, but he's all over TikTok, all over Instagram, and he's already got quite a significant Instagram following already. I think he's almost 230,000, which is for an England rugby player, that's a lot. And how many
Yeah.
caps has he won? 3?
Well, he hasn't started yet, has he?
Yeah,
Well, and the thing is with Henry Pollock, and I was aware of him when he was in the under-18s, and he's one of the few under-18. I tend to leave the under-18s alone because they're younger players. But I said this guy's special. I don't know how many years ago that was, 3-4 years ago, and they never talk about under-18s. That's how special they knew he was. And it is a bit of they've let him have his personality, but there's almost no choice. Either you let Henry Pollock be Henry Pollock, or you don't have him at all. And they knew that from the under-18s. They knew that coming through. And now in the social media era, etc., it's a bit easier to do that. And then everybody relaxes around that, and it kind of creates this bit of a snowball. So I think he's come along at the right time. Because he was irrepressible, you could do nothing but let him go or not have him at all.
exactly. And what a player as well. I mean, they're talking about him saying, "Oh yeah, he'll be good if he just like piles a few more pounds on." But I think you want to keep him lean and keep him explosive, and how fast he is kind of like another winger
Yeah.
on the pitch, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I think he can definitely. He will add some kgs. He will definitely add some kgs of muscle and getting slightly better. Like he's only how old is he? 20,
He's still
something like that.
20, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
which is nuts.
a couple of years of pre-seasons and whatnot, he will be slightly bigger and more powerful, no doubt. And I think you can put a few more kgs on and not lose your explosive nature. Look at Ben Earl. He's put on a fair few kgs and he's still as quick. So you can compensate for the extra weight by the extra power. So yeah, I think that will help him definitely. But if you just watch the way he carries into contact, he is horrible. No, when he broke through into England and into Northampton, I was getting comments on the channel saying, "Yeah, he's a show pony in open ground, but can he bash through contact? What's he like in contact?" And I said, "Look at the way he carries. He bursts into contact. He loves it, absolutely loves it." So I don't think there's a problem with him shirking contact or anything like that. He will have to just pick and choose a bit better. He will maybe have to grind a bit more occasionally and things like that. But that will come with time and with coaches getting on at him. I think in 2 or 3 years' time, 2 years' time, he's going to be top draw. He might not even start though. You might keep him for the bench
Yeah,
and give him
exactly.
25 minutes. That may be his
Run
role.
riot in that final quarter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why not? If
Ah,
you have the depth, why not?
exactly, and that obviously would be perfect timing with being the World Cup in 2 years' time. So
Yeah.
yeah, we will have to see. I mean, I remember like Phil Dowson talking to the media, and he said, yeah, we're really pleased with him, but he's just got a bit of a tendency to compete for every single breakdown, and when some are just unwinnable, he just doesn't need to go for the ball every single time. And I was at Twickenham for that Argentina game right at the end when Argentina broke from their own line, and I could see him, sniffing at each breakdown. And I was like, "Don't compete, don't compete."
Too keen.
Go
That's his issue. He could be
goes off
too
his feet.
keen.
Yeah,
Jump over a ruck, try and grab a ball, look at the ref, and the refs. Maybe one time the ref have had enough of that and say,
yeah,
stop doing that.
exactly. But what a talent, and he's just part of. Maybe England are building their own kind of conveyor belt of talent coming through. It certainly seems like it with the depth that Steve Borthwick's team are building. It's really promising for English rugby, and we shall see.
Yeah, it's interesting as well because it's almost been a bit. I'm absolutely giving Steve Borthwick plenty of credit here, but there's been a bit of good fortune as well by default stuff with Tom Willis now making himself not available almost. They had to go to Ben Earl at 8, which opened up another slot. And then you can have the Tom Curry and Pollock on the bench. So that kind of was a happy accident. I don't know if they'd have done otherwise. And then Max Ajomo playing in the last game, he wasn't due to play. He wasn't meant to play. And then he's kind of saying, look, I am actually pretty special, which we kind of all knew, but he needed his break. So there's been a couple of happy accidents potentially. Hopefully another happy accident will be getting Arundel and Radwan a bit more involved at a few starts as well, and then we could be cooking with gas.
Yes, exactly. Do you think Radwan can break into this England team? I just think there's just so many great wingers Borthwick's got, and he's not a Borthwick winger really, is in terms of his ability under the high ball.
Well, I don't know. Borthwick's interesting because he'll occasionally make a selection. You'll go, oh my goodness. You'll be like, oh, maybe he's a bit more attacking than we thought. Like selecting Arundel, but then he'll happily go to a very conservative game plan as well. So he does seem a very much horses for courses type of selector. But Radwan's game has come on leaps and bounds. He's not the tallest, but his high ball work is good now. It is good. And his defence is good, and his work rate's good. And it's now or never. I think he's 28 or something. He's like something like that now, 27, 28. He is 100% good enough, but he just needs to be given a chance. You put a big dude on the other wing, you put a Roebuck or a Freeman on the other wing, and you have an Arundel, Faye-Waboso, or a Radwan on the other wing, and one on the bench, and maybe one at fullback. Who knows?
Thank you for joining us on this latest episode of the Rugby Paper Roundup. For exclusive stories and all the detailed rugby news you need, subscribe to the Rugby Paper website, digital edition or newspaper, from as little as 14p a day. Also, make sure to check out the Rugby Analyst YouTube channel, following the link in the description below. See you next time. Thanks for joining us.